Bruce Wayne. Picture the Justice League watchtower for a second. Superman can hear disasters across the planet. The Flash can think and move in fractions of a second. Wonder Woman has fought gods. Green Lantern wears one of the most versatile weapons in existence. And the one they all quietly worry about is Bruce. That says almost everything about main continuity Batman. His body is human. His threat level, absolutely, is not. Bruce watched Joe Chill murder Thomas and Martha Wayne in Crime Alley, and then responded in the most Bruce Wayne way possible. He spent years turning grief into a private university course on how to ruin a criminal's night. Martial arts, escape artistry, disguise, chemistry, engineering, criminology, forensics. If a skill could conceivably help him stop somebody, Bruce went away and learned it until the skill became part of Batman. This is why reducing him to rich guy with gadgets never works. The money buys the Batmobile and the satellite, sure. It does not explain why Bruce can walk into a room, notice the dust is wrong, and realize the victim was moved before anyone else has found the body. After all, we can't forget that he's the world's greatest detective. On an ordinary patrol, though, he is still vulnerable. Killer Croc can overpower him, and Bane has broken his back on many occasions at this point. Poison, blood loss, and a badly placed bullet all work. His standard suit can absorb impacts and protect against some gunfire, but Superman does not need to check whether the round struck a reinforced panel. Bruce does. And this is where the argument gets messy, because comic book human is already ridiculous. Bruce survives falls, injuries, and nights without sleep that would destroy a real athlete. He has escaped restraints designed by geniuses and kept fighting through damage that should have ended the week, never mind the evening. DC still treats those feats as training and willpower rather than a separate superpower. That distinction is going to matter once we meet Batmen who can genuinely regenerate or cross a city before Bruce's nerves fire. His real advantage is choosing the fight. Gotham's criminals rarely get the encounter they prepared for. Armed men find darkness. The Riddler finds a detective, and Mr. Freeze finds thermal countermeasures. Clayface finds solvents, electricity, or containment technology designed around whichever version of his biology is active this month. Then somebody says Batman can beat Superman, and every comics discussion falls apart. Bruce has defeated or incapacitated far stronger heroes. He knows Superman's weaknesses, has designed plans against the Justice League, and keeps equipment for the day one of his friends loses control. Those victories depend on knowledge, access, and time. Kryptonite, red sunlight, sonic attacks, and an opponent who is holding back because he does not want to turn Bruce into red mist. Drop standard Batman into an empty field against a serious Superman with no warning, and there is no clever contest. The same goes for the Flash. Barry or Wally could remove every gadget from Bruce's belt before he consciously registered that the fight had started. Give Bruce a month, the Batcave, and full information, and suddenly the impossible opponent has a very bad evening. That conditional threat is what makes him the benchmark. Main Bruce has the deepest record, the widest collection of counters, and the unnerving habit of remembering a weakness even its owner has forgotten. He has built armor that lets him operate much higher. The Justice Buster was designed around the League. The Hellbat can enter a battle with Darkseid. We will get to those later because temporary equipment has to be judged separately from the man who patrols Gotham every night. For now, standard Bruce is our leading conventional Batman. He is the most complete combination of fighter, detective, engineer, strategist, and paranoid friend imaginable. And the first person to replace him immediately proves that Bruce's way is not the only way this can work. Dick Grayson. Bruce is gone after Final Crisis. Gotham is getting worse. Damian Wayne is Robin, which means the child standing beside Batman has been trained by assassins, considers murder an efficient solution, and thinks he may already be smarter than everybody in the cave. So Dick Grayson puts on the cowl, and suddenly the dynamic duo feels backwards. The original Robin is now Batman. Bruce's biological son is the angry kid beside him. Dick has to provide patience, stability, and the occasional reminder that criminals are meant to survive the arrest. This is one of my favorite Batman periods because Dick never pretends to become Bruce. He talks during fights, he jokes, he moves like an acrobat because that is what he was before Bruce found him. Where Bruce hits the ground like something heavy just entered the room, Dick seems to arrive from an angle nobody was watching. Is he stronger than Bruce? Physically, Bruce has the size and usually the raw strength. Dick has superior agility, a cleaner flow, and years of experience moving through space in ways even the Bat family struggles to match. Put them in a neutral fight, and the answer changes with the writer, the setting, and how much either one knows going in. Anyone claiming it is an effortless victory in either direction is selling something. The larger gap appears in preparation. Bruce has spent decades building contingencies for friends, enemies, and scenarios that sound deranged until they happen. Dick can plan, investigate, and lead at an elite level. He simply does not enjoy treating every relationship like a possible future crime scene. That may make him less dangerous. It also makes people want to follow him. Gotham keeps functioning while criminals know the original Batman is absent. Damian begins learning how to become a hero instead of a weapon. Dick proves that the symbol can survive without the exact personality that created it. Against Gotham's street-level threats, he is terrifyingly capable. Against Superman, Wonder Woman, or a serious speedster, he needs the same kind of specialized conditions Bruce does and has fewer of them waiting in storage. So Bruce keeps the overall human lead. Dick takes something harder to quantify. He may be the better proof that Batman can exist without consuming the person inside it. The next replacement does not care about any of that. He sees Bruce's limits, adds armor and claws, then beats the man who broke Batman. For a while, it looks like he has solved the problem. Jean-Paul Valley. Bane does not walk into the Batcave and defeat a healthy Bruce Wayne. He empties Arkham, lets Gotham exhaust Batman one crisis at a time, and waits until Bruce can barely stand. Only then does he lift him over his head and break his back. Bruce needs somebody to wear the cowl, and the choice becomes Jean-Paul Valley. Jean-Paul is already Azrael, an assassin shaped by the Order of Saint-Dumas and conditioned through the system, a program buried so deeply in his mind that he cannot always tell where his own decisions end. At first, he wears Bruce's costume. Then Gotham hits back, and Jean-Paul starts improving it. More armor, sharper weapons, claws, and launchers begin swallowing the original design. Every difficult encounter convinces him that Batman only failed because Batman was not aggressive enough. The suit becomes a physical record of a man losing control while insisting he is becoming more efficient. Then Bane comes back, and Jean-Paul wins. He is stronger in the armor, fresher than Bruce was, and completely willing to give Bane the brutal fight he wants. The victory is legitimate. It is also the moment fans sometimes use to skip every warning surrounding it. Jean-Paul can overpower opponents who expect the lighter standard suit. His conditioning gives him explosive instincts, and his armor lets him absorb punishment Bruce would avoid. But the system narrows his thinking. Each problem becomes another target for direct force. Manipulators, shapeshifters, telepaths, and anybody capable of turning the armor's bulk against him can exploit that obsession. You can see the decline in the silhouette. Bruce designed Batman to disappear. Jean-Paul keeps adding metal until criminals can hear the solution coming. The suit wins more direct exchanges while removing the flexibility that made Bruce dangerous when the exchange went wrong. Bruce eventually reclaims the mantle by attacking Jean-Paul's certainty. He forces him through spaces that make the armor useless, strips away the additions, and reaches the frightened man underneath. It is a perfect Batman victory because the decisive weapon is understanding the opponent. Jean-Paul gives us the first clean-up set in raw power. He hits harder than standard Bruce and defeats Bane after Bruce falls. He also becomes such a dangerous Batman that Bruce has to save Gotham from its protector. Power has already split away from capability, and we have barely started. Jason Todd. Jason Todd becoming Batman should be a triumphant story. The dead Robin came back. He survived the Joker, rebuilt himself as Red Hood, and knows Gotham from both sides of Bruce's moral line. During Battle for the Cowl, it goes about as badly as you would expect. Jason puts on a militarized version of the costume, carries guns, and treats the empty mantle like territory to seize. He has the training to make that terrifying. Jason is an elite fighter, an exceptional marksman, and one of the few people who understands exactly how the Bat family will respond. He is also angry, unstable, and trying to force everybody else to admit that his way works. Against ordinary criminals, this Batman can end encounters very quickly. Against other vigilantes, his weapons and willingness to kill create hesitation they do not share. Once the fight becomes a sustained contest of judgment, investigation, and leadership, the claim falls apart. Dick defeats him, and Jason never establishes the kind of lasting Batman operation the city needs. He counts because he wore the cowl and fought to keep it. He ranks low because being the most dangerous person in a Batman costume is not the same as becoming Batman. Jim Gordon. There is a moment in the Super Heavy era where Jim Gordon, complete with a shaved head and mustache-free face, is standing inside a giant mechanical Batman built by the police. I love comics. Bruce has apparently died after Endgame, and Gotham decides to stop pretending Batman is outside the system. The city funds one. Engineers build the equipment, the police provide intelligence, and Gordon becomes the man inside the program. His smaller suit improves movement, protection, and communication. The larger mech, known as Rookie, can leap through Gotham, take serious punishment, and carry enough hardware to confront threats Gordon would normally address by calling every available unit and hoping Superman was nearby. For the first time, Batman has an official support desk. That support is the strength and the weakness. Gordon can coordinate openly with police, access resources legally, and understand how a public emergency actually moves through Gotham's institutions. Bruce is brilliant at operating around those systems. Gordon has spent his life inside them. He also has technicians, political supervisors, budgets, and remote controls hanging over every decision. Somebody else can delay maintenance, cut support, or shut the program down. If the mech fails and Gordon climbs out, he is still a brave older police officer facing people trained from childhood to fight assassins. Rookie could crush Jason's brief Batman in a straight mechanical confrontation. Bruce or Dick would target the infrastructure, isolate Gordon, and refuse to have that confrontation. The machine makes Gordon powerful while everything functions. It never turns him into the man who designed his entire life around surviving alone. Gordon also has to perform Batman in public. The suit belongs to an institution that wants press conferences and visible accountability. Bruce weaponizes uncertainty. Gordon arrives with a logo, a chain of command, and somebody asking whether the property damage was authorized. As an emergency Batman, he works. As a permanent answer, he proves why Gotham cannot manufacture Bruce Wayne on a government contract. Jace Fox. Jace Fox does something most replacement Batmen avoid. He leaves Gotham. That decision tells you what he is trying to build. Tim Fox, who now goes by Jace, is Lucius Fox's son. He has access to advanced technology, serious training, and the consequences of growing up around wealth without sharing Bruce's exact history. After Joker War and Fear State, he creates his own Batman and eventually takes the mission to New York. He is not waiting for Bruce to validate him. He wants the symbol to mean something to people who do not live under Wayne Tower, and he is far more conscious of how Batman appears to communities already used to masked authority showing up with weapons. In a fight, Jace has excellent armor, surveillance tools, and enough experience to dismantle gangs, assassins, and organized conspiracies. He can survive enhanced street-level threats and improvise under pressure. The ceiling arrives when people hand him Bruce's entire resume simply because the ears match. Bruce has fought almost every category of danger in the DC universe. He has private files on gods, alien biology, magic, and teammates who occasionally become world-ending problems. Jace has a much shorter career. His suit does not suddenly give him decades of mistakes, recoveries, and painfully specific countermeasures. Give him a professional killer or a corrupt system and he belongs in the conversation. Give him Superman without warning and the conversation ends. His best advantage is perspective. Jace notices forms of power Bruce can overlook because his mission was built around a different relationship with the city. The suit remains just as vulnerable, while Jace may reveal an enemy long before a conventional Batman recognizes the threat as his responsibility. That is not a dismissal. Jace matters because he makes Batman larger than the Wayne family while still having to earn every part of the legend. He is a real Batman in the middle of becoming one, and pretending he arrived fully formed would make that journey less interesting. Thomas Wayne. Crime Alley happens again. The gun goes off. This time, Bruce Wayne is the child who dies. Thomas and Martha survive, although survive is doing violent work in that sentence. Martha breaks and becomes the Joker. Thomas turns Wayne Casino into a headquarters, puts on the cowl and carries guns because the world has already taken the only thing he cared about preserving. Flashpoint Batman is one of the most emotionally dangerous versions of the character. He is older than Bruce, trained, wealthy, and a gifted surgeon. He understands exactly where a human body fails, how much damage it can absorb, and when a wound stops being reversible. And unlike his son, he has no rule against making the damage permanent. Against human criminals, that makes Thomas immediately lethal. The fight can be over before Bruce would have finished deciding how to take somebody alive. But guns do not become more useful because the person holding them is angrier. Superman still ignores ordinary bullets. The Flash still moves before Thomas aims. A durable metahuman who survives the opening shot leaves him with an older human body and fewer non-lethal contingencies than Bruce. His willingness to kill also destroys information and creates consequences Bruce's methods are designed to avoid. Thomas can end one threat quickly and manufacture 3 more from the body it leaves behind. His most important act is quieter. Barry Allen tries to repair the Flashpoint timeline, and Thomas gives him a letter for the adult son who should exist somewhere beyond this ruined world. When Bruce reads it, every argument about which Wayne is tougher becomes irrelevant for a moment. His father found him across a broken timeline. Later, Thomas enters Bruce's reality and becomes convinced that Batman is destroying his son. He tries to break the mission itself using the emotional knowledge only a father could possess. He is dangerous because he knows Bruce. Not because a pistol somehow makes him stronger than the Justice League, more willing to kill, easily, more powerful than main Bruce across every kind of threat. No. And before anybody combines his guns with a completely different Thomas Wayne's super strength, we need to separate two characters fans merge all the time. Earth 2 Thomas Wayne. The new 52 Earth 2 has its own Thomas Wayne, and this one uses Miraclo. That single detail changes the physical argument. Miraclo is the drug associated with Hourman. While it is active, an ordinary man gains genuinely superhuman strength, speed, endurance, and resilience. Thomas can take hits and overpower enemies the Flashpoint version would need to shoot, trap, or avoid. For roughly an hour in its classic form, the older man inside the suit stops moving like an older man. The timer is the entire problem. Investigation, travel, and the first wave of enemies all consume it. If the strongest opponent appears near the end of the window, every second of enhanced strength has become borrowed time with interest. Bruce would never agree to the brawl Miraclo Thomas wants. He would delay, attack the supply, and force Thomas to spend the advantage chasing him. The body is stronger. The source is a clock Bruce can see. If Thomas reaches him early, that plan becomes much less comfortable. Miraclo's strength in the hands of somebody who knows how a Wayne thinks can end a human fight quickly. Bruce needs space and information. Thomas needs one opening before the hour begins shrinking around him. Still, this is our first successor who becomes unambiguously superhuman in ordinary combat. Once the drug hits, the earlier human Batman should not trade punches with him. Tim Drake. Tim Drake's most important turn as Batman comes from a future he desperately does not want. Titans of Tomorrow shows the young heroes grown into authoritarian versions of their mentors. Tim has taken Bruce's cowl, added future technology, and allowed detective intelligence to harden into control. He carries guns. He knows how every Titan thinks because he grew up beside them. Their habits, powers, and emotional weaknesses are already inside his case files. That makes him vicious against familiar opponents. Tim does not need to discover the weakness halfway through the fight. He remembers the day it first appeared. Against an unknown cosmic being, much of that advantage disappears. His body remains human, and future weapons do not guarantee survival against something fast or powerful enough to ignore them. Titans Tomorrow is also a possible destination rather than the confirmed fate of the main Tim Drake. That is why the story works. The frightening part is not that Tim secretly wants to become this Batman. He can see how intelligence, grief, and the need to protect everyone might slowly make the choices feel reasonable. Damian Wayne, Batman issue 666, drops us into a Gotham Damian Wayne has turned into a trap. The city is rigged. Buildings, streets, and escape routes belong to him before the enemy arrives. Damian is older, harder, and carrying the full result of a childhood that began with the League of Assassins. Most Robins learn to fight after becoming heroes. Damian learned to kill before he had any reason to question it. So, even a normal adult Damian should be horrifyingly skilled. Then, he tells us, he traded his soul to the devil. He claims the bargain gave him immortality after he failed to save Bruce. The future around him supports the possibility. Damian survives punishment that should finish an ordinary Batman, and his enemy is a figure claiming to be the Antichrist. The supernatural language belongs to the story. What we never receive is a neat rulebook. Immortality might mean he cannot age, cannot die normally, or can return from damage under particular conditions. Comics fans love taking one line and building an invincible version around it. The pages do not give us enough to do that, honestly. What the pages do give us is a Batman willing to spend his own soul as another piece of equipment. Bruce turns money and sleep into resources. Damian looks at damnation and treats it like the price listed beneath a tool Gotham needs. Inside his Gotham, Damian is more dangerous than almost every earlier successor. Elite assassins are familiar problems, and stronger enemies still have to navigate a city he prepared as one enormous weapon. Pull him into an unknown environment, and the advantage shrinks. Push his temper, threaten the people he refuses to admit he loves, and you can still make him choose badly. He may be the hardest successor to kill. The limits are too unclear to hand him the category. There is also the question of what immortality does to judgment. A Batman who expects to survive can build traps around damage Bruce would never risk. That makes Damian frightening inside his city and dangerously willing to discover the fine print through experience. That goes to the Batman waiting in a city where the suit finally provides everything Bruce's human body never could. Terry McGinnis. An elderly Bruce Wayne points a gun at a criminal because his heart is failing and his body can no longer finish the fight. He survives, returns to the cave, and shuts Batman down. Years later, Terry McGinnis steals the final suit. That is the beginning of Batman Beyond, and it gives Terry a fascinating advantage over every previous heir. He is not trying to reproduce Bruce's best years with older technology. He starts with a suit designed after Bruce had already learned what decades inside the cowl would do to a human body. The thing flies. It turns almost invisible. It enhances Terry's strength, protects him from impacts, and builds sensors, communications, cutting tools, and batarangs into the frame. It can cling to surfaces, cross Neo-Gotham without a vehicle, and give one teenager enough mobility to fight criminals built by a far more advanced century. Early Terry is still reckless. Bruce watches through the cowl, feeds him information, and occasionally has to stop him from solving a sophisticated trap with the strategy of hit it again. The suit can be hacked or remotely disabled, and Terry's dependence on the voice in his ear becomes obvious whenever the connection fails. But Terry grows. That is the part people flatten when they treat him as Bruce's delivery system. He learns Neo-Gotham's criminal culture, works with the Justice League Beyond, and reaches the point where Bruce's approval is useful rather than necessary. He fights differently because he is younger, more improvisational, and native to the technology around him. Could peak Bruce beat him? With preparation, Bruce knows the suit and would attack its systems instead of Terry's enhanced body. Drop them into a sudden fight with standard equipment, and Terry can fly, vanish, and hit with strength Bruce does not naturally possess. Miraclo expires. Gordon needs a support program. Damian's supernatural protection never receives clean limits. Terry can put on the Beyond suit every night and receive the same package of mobility, stealth, and power. His villains are built around that same future. Inkway can flow through attacks. Shriek weaponizes sound, and Blight carries radioactive power that makes ordinary close combat suicidal. Terry's place at the top comes from repeatedly surviving a Gotham where yesterday's emergency equipment has become the starting requirement. So Terry McGinnis is our strongest sustained successor. He wins the first major category, and he does it without becoming a monster god or temporary host for somebody else's power. Enjoy that while it lasts. We are leaving the main timeline now, and the definition of Batman is about to become very flexible. Golden Age Batman. The first alternate Batman is also the original, when DC needed to explain how stories from the 1940s could exist beside newer versions of the same heroes. The earliest Bruce Wayne became the Batman of Earth 2. He began closer to a pulp detective. Simpler gadgets, gangsters, mad scientists, and a Gotham that had not yet accumulated 80 years of alien invasions and contingency armor. And then something rare happened. Bruce Wayne was allowed to age. This Bruce married Selina Kyle. They had a daughter, Helena Wayne, who became the Huntress. He retired, served as Gotham's police commissioner, and actually moved into a life beyond nightly patrols. If you have spent years reading a Bruce who seems physically incapable of allowing himself a happy ending, Earth 2 feels almost forbidden. His equipment cannot compete with Terry's future suit or the modern Batcave. His record still includes decades of detective work and leadership within the Justice Society. So older technology does not mean helpless amateur. Modern Bruce would control the mechanical gap and discover that the mind beneath the older cowl is painfully familiar. The ending is what stays with you. A magically empowered criminal threatens Gotham, and the retired Batman returns. Bruce dies saving the city, leaving Helena to carry the loss. He's weaker than the modern versions in almost every clean power comparison. He also built a family, left the cave, and completed a human life before the symbol called him back one final time. Depending on what you think Batman is for, that may be a greater victory than anything near the top of this ranking. Tlano. Okay, Zur-En-Arrh. Most people now hear that name and think of Bruce's violent backup personality. Originally, it was a planet. Tlano is the Batman of that planet, complete with an alien Batcave, a brightly colored costume, and technology such as the Bat-Radia. He calls Earth's Batman for help against giant robots, which leads to the gloriously Silver Age situation of Bruce. Arriving on another world and discovering its atmosphere gives him Superman-like powers. Those powers belong to Earth's Bruce while he is there. Tlano does not secretly have the strength of Superman, no matter how many ranking lists accidentally blend the two together. What Tlano has is specialized alien technology and enough detective instinct to protect an advanced world. His demonstrated combat history is tiny compared with the versions surrounding him, so there is no honest way to put him above Terry or the stronger enhanced Batman. He is here because the idea matters. Decades later, Bruce takes this bizarre memory from Planet X and installs the name inside his own mind. Keep that in the back of your head. Zur-En-Arrh returns when Bruce's paranoia finds a body for it, and the colorful alien adventure becomes retroactively unsettling. Gotham by Gaslight Batman. There are no security cameras waiting for Bruce Wayne in Victorian Gotham, no DNA database, no satellite. If Jack the Ripper leaves blood at a crime scene, Batman has to understand what it means with the science available in the 19th century and the police actively considering him a suspect. Gotham by Gaslight strips Batman back to the part of him I honestly wish more stories remembered the detective walking into a murder nobody else can solve. His tools are mechanical, primitive, and handmade by modern standards. Escape means rope, timing, and knowledge of the city's physical layout. A gunshot is terrifying because the cave does not contain a medical system decades ahead of its time. When Gotham decides the masked vigilante must be connected to the killings, Bruce cannot clear his name by asking a computer to reconstruct the night. That leaves him painfully low on the power scale. Terry can disappear from his senses and attack from the air. Jean-Paul's armor would look like a walking tank. Main Bruce has access to evidence and equipment this version could barely imagine. Yet put modern Bruce in the same century without his cave, and he eventually has to become something close to this man. The gadgets vanish. The obsession with the correct answer survives. This section is a useful breath before the power starts climbing again. Batman does not always need to threaten a god. Sometimes he needs to prove the city arrested the wrong man before the actual killer strikes again. Earth 1 Batman. Earth 1 Bruce fires a grappling device, expects the dramatic rooftop escape, and watches the gadget fail. Beautiful. No notes. This is a young Batman who has the money, anger, and broad outline of the mission without the impossible competence main continuity usually treats as part of the costume. He misjudges jumps. Equipment breaks. Criminals do not automatically freeze because a cape entered the room. Alfred has to become something closer to a military instructor and survival partner. He knew Thomas Wayne, carries his own damage, and helps Bruce construct Batman through bruises and failed prototypes, rather than unveiling a finished legend. At the beginning of the story, a group of armed men can genuinely end him. His anger pulls him into encounters before the evidence is complete, and Alfred sometimes has to solve the escape because Bruce was too focused on the target to notice the trap. That makes him one of our weakest major Batmen. It also makes every later improvement feel earned. Detective instinct becomes a skill he develops. Preparation only becomes a superpower after he has spent enough nights learning how badly an unprepared plan hurts. Main Bruce wins the fight easily. Earth 1. Bruce gives us the messier pleasure of watching Batman become Batman one mistake at a time. And the mistakes have consequences beyond bruises. Every public failure teaches Gotham that the creature can be cornered. Bruce has to create the legend while criminals are actively collecting evidence that the legend is a young man whose rope sometimes breaks. Red Sun Batman. Now we get to the first Superman argument, and I am begging everyone to keep the full page open before declaring a winner. In the Red Sun universe, Superman lands in the Soviet Union and grows into the center of a regime. Batman begins as a child watching Soviet agents murder his parents. He becomes a terrorist and symbol of resistance, attacking a system built around a man he cannot physically harm. So he changes the physics. Batman kidnaps Wonder Woman to draw Superman into a prepared location. Generators flood the area with synthetic red sun radiation. Superman's strength drains away, and for a moment, the human revolutionary has brought the most powerful man in the world down to his level. This is Batman at his most dangerous. Not stronger than the target, just patient enough to build a room where strength stops belonging to them. Then Wonder Woman breaks free. The effort severely injures her. The generators fail and Superman's power returns. Batman has no secret reserve of Kryptonian strength waiting beneath the costume. He knows the regime will reprogram him if he is captured, so he detonates an explosive within his own body rather than become Superman's servant. Did he beat Superman? He trapped and temporarily neutralized him under red sunlight after choosing the place, bait, and technology. That is an incredible feat. Put both men in a neutral field with no preparation, and Superman ends the encounter before Batman reaches for anything. Red Sun Batman is dangerous enough to make a god kneel if the god walks into his room. Once the room breaks, so does the illusion that they were ever physical equals. The decision to die rather than be controlled also reveals his final limit. This Batman can design a perfect trap for Superman and has no life waiting beyond resistance. When the plan fails, self-destruction feels more acceptable than allowing the regime to rewrite the symbol. The Dark Knight returns, Batman. You know the image, an armored Bruce standing over Superman and delivering the line about being the one man who beat him. It may be the most misused Batman panel ever printed. Bruce is old when he returns in The Dark Knight Returns. The first fight with the mutant leader goes horribly because he tries to prove he can still dominate a younger, stronger opponent. The mutant leader tears him apart, and Carrie Kelly saves his life. Bruce wins the rematch after accepting the obvious. He cannot fight like the younger man he remembers. Then, the government sends Superman. Before he reaches Crime Alley, Superman has been caught in a nuclear explosion. The resulting cloud blocks sunlight and leaves him visibly weakened. Bruce selects the battlefield, wears powered armor, and has Green Arrow positioned with kryptonite. The armor keeps Bruce alive long enough to use Gotham's electrical grid, sonic attacks, and everything else prepared around the location. Green Arrow's kryptonite arrow poisons Superman. Only after all of that does Bruce land the final, iconic blows. Superman is still holding back emotionally. This is Bruce Wayne beneath the armor, a friend he is trying to stop rather than an alien invader he intends to erase. Bruce understands that restraint and builds the performance around it. He needs Superman angry enough to engage, weakened enough to remain close, and compassionate enough to let the sequence continue. And even this is not a clean knockout followed by retirement. Bruce fakes a fatal heart attack. Superman hears the heartbeat at the funeral and allows the deception to stand. None of this diminishes the plan. An aging human built a sequence capable of hurting a weakened Kryptonian and escaping with his underground movement intact. That is exactly the kind of impossible thing Batman should achieve. It also follows the lesson of the mutant leader. Older Bruce loses when pride convinces him to prove he is physically superior. He wins when he admits the body is failing and makes the opponent fight the environment, the allies, and the story he prepared around them. It does mean a healthy Superman fighting seriously would rip through the armor before Bruce finished the speech. The suit is a short-duration equalizer designed around one exhausted opponent, not a permanent transformation into a Kryptonian heavyweight. Against other humans, older Bruce remains frightening because every scar represents a lesson. Main Bruce and Dick have healthier bodies. The armor narrows that gap for a while. The man inside it still knows the clock is running, and for once, his entire plan depends on letting the world watch Batman die. Kingdom Come Batman. The next Bruce no longer needs to pretend his body is fine. Kingdom Come Batman is physically wrecked. An exoskeleton helps him move. Years of punishment have finally collected their debt, and Gotham is patrolled by robotic Bat Knights because one man cannot be everywhere anymore. So, Bruce turns the city into his body. Cameras become eyes. Robots become fists. An information network lets him influence a conflict involving Superman, Wonder Woman, Lex Luthor, and a generation of metahumans who treat collateral damage like background decoration. If you dragged Bruce out of the system and put him in a cage match, most healthy human Batmen would beat him. That is almost beside the point. Reaching him means surviving an automated Gotham first. The matchup changes dramatically with the opponent. A physical bruiser with no hacking ability can spend hours breaking machines, while Bruce watches, learns, and sends the next response. The murder machine would be catastrophic, because every connected system becomes a possible infection point. One nightmare intelligence could turn Bruce's artificial nervous system against him. Kingdom Come is also where Batman's political power matters more than any punch. He moves between Superman's returning idealism and Lex's manipulation, deciding where information goes and which alliance keeps the world alive for one more hour. His relationship with Superman carries years of exhausted friendship. Bruce distrusts the new metahuman order and resents Clark for leaving, yet he still understands Superman may be the only person capable of stopping the crisis from becoming extinction. The broken man in the cave has to maneuver gods who could destroy every machine he owns. That is why removing Bruce from the exoskeleton does not remove his influence. He has already placed information, loyalties, and suspicions where they need to be. The Bat Knights are the visible army. His actual reach is inside the decisions everybody else thinks they made alone. How powerful is this Batman? Personally, less than he was. As the intelligence controlling Gotham, far more than one broken body should be. White Knight Batman. The Joker becomes sane and does something genuinely unforgivable. He starts making good points. As Jack Napier, he stops fighting Batman in an alley and attacks the public story around him. How many buildings have been destroyed during a chase? How much does Gotham spend cleaning up after one man's private war? Why does everybody accept catastrophic damage as long as Batman says the target deserved it? White Knight Bruce can still fight. He has the vehicles, armor, and violent certainty people expect. That certainty becomes evidence every time he tears through another wall in front of witnesses. You cannot punch a budget hearing. You cannot throw a batarang at public legitimacy. Bruce's strength, the thing that solves almost every immediate problem, keeps feeding the case against him. That gives Jack a victory condition most villains ignore. Arrest Batman. Expose him. Make Gotham withdraw the permission he has always taken for granted. Bruce can point at everything the Joker did in the past, and the city can still ask whether Batman is currently making it safer. In direct combat, White Knight Batman sits close to a harsher standard Bruce. The interesting defeat happens before the fight. For once, the person inside the cowl has to confront the possibility that winning every chase can still mean losing Gotham. The vehicles make the case against him visible. A Batmobile tearing through the city looks heroic from inside the comic panel and expensive from the apartment it just destroyed. Jack keeps dragging the viewpoint toward the people Batman usually leaves behind with the wreckage. Kirk Langstrom, the Batman of Justice League, Gods and Monsters, drops from the darkness, tears through armed men, and drinks blood. Then the story tells you his name is Kirk Langstrom. There is no Bruce Wayne beneath this cowl. Kirk is a scientist trying to cure his cancer with a serum derived from bat research. The treatment changes him into a vampire-like superhuman, with enhanced strength, speed, agility, senses, and the ability to survive damage a normal vigilante cannot. That biology flips the usual Batman setup. Kirk does not need armor to imitate a creature of the night. He is the creature. A criminal hiding in darkness has selected his preferred environment for him. Bruce, Dick, and Jason should lose a sudden physical fight. Terry can fly, scan, and strike with enhanced strength, which makes the Beyond suit a much closer problem. Main Bruce, with time, would study the altered cells, build sonic or biological countermeasures, and refuse to wrestle the vampire because, again, he is not an idiot when the story remembers who he is. Kirk's need to feed complicates every encounter. Starvation can weaken his control. Blood can restore the body while pushing the mind toward choices Batman should never make. He has immediate power and a much smaller network of contingencies than Bruce. There are stronger monsters coming. Kirk is the first Batman on this list who begins the night with powers already inside his blood. Wayne Williams, Stan Lee, and Joe Kubert reimagined Batman by removing Bruce Wayne completely and somehow arriving at professional wrestling. Wayne Williams is framed, sent to prison, and forced to train because survival demands it. After release, he becomes a wrestler, builds wealth, and creates a full-bodied costume that looks like a giant artificial bat swallowing the man inside. It is wonderfully weird, and still recognizably Batman. Performance becomes training. The intimidating persona exists before crime fighting does. Wayne understands how to make a crowd believe in a character, then points that talent at the criminal who destroyed his life. He can handle gangs and ordinary killers. His body is that of an elite human athlete, and the costume's appearance promises more than its actual feats deliver. Terry's suit, Jean-Paul's armor, and Main Bruce's technology all sit above him. Power-wise, he is a detour. Conceptually, he proves the symbol can survive the loss of the Waynes, Alfred, Crime Alley, and almost every familiar piece of the origin. Sometimes Batman begins in an alley. Here, the identity grows out of a wrestling ring and carries that sense of performance into the first night on the street. Last night on Earth, Batman. Bruce Wayne wakes in Arkham. Everybody tells him Batman was a delusion. Then he reaches the outside world and finds the severed, living head of the Joker. We are officially in Scott Snyder territory. This Bruce is a young clone carrying the memories and material of the original. Civilization has collapsed. The heroes have fallen, and a tyrant called Omega controls what remains. Bruce crosses the wasteland with Joker's head in a container, walking through the remains of a world that lost every argument about whether hope was worth the effort. The power here is endurance. Bruce survives hostile landscapes, corrupted legacies, and the psychological weight of seeing what happened after the heroes failed. He gathers help and equipment along the way. He does not suddenly gain the strength to liberate a planet alone. Then Omega removes the mask. He is the original Bruce Wayne. The first Batman finally decided humanity could only be saved by control, and the clone is forced to fight the person whose memories created him. One has the identity. The other still has the reason Batman existed. Allies matter to the victory. Joker's head provides knowledge and commentary, the surviving heroes contribute what Bruce lacks, and the younger Batman succeeds because people still choose to help. Treating the outcome as a solo feat would miss the entire point. Omega has all the evidence required to defend his surrender. The world did collapse. Heroes did fail. People did turn on the symbols meant to save them. The clone cannot disprove any of that history. He wins by refusing to let history decide what everybody is allowed to become next. He remains an extraordinarily durable human. His real victory is proving that the Bruce who still believes in people deserves the name more than the Bruce who remembers everything and believes in nobody. Absolute Batman. Absolute Bruce Wayne is built like somebody drew a refrigerator, added ears, and taught it structural engineering. He is huge, genuinely absurd. His chest symbol detaches into an axe. Parts of the cape harden into tools. The ears can become weapons, and the Batmobile carries the visual language of heavy machinery instead of a billionaire's polished prototype. The important difference is money. This Bruce grows up working class, keeps Martha Wayne, and becomes a city engineer. He knows Gotham from inside its infrastructure. Instead of placing one cave beneath a mansion, he builds smaller bases throughout the city and turns ordinary terrain into part of the plan. Watching him fight feels different. Main Bruce often produces the exact elegant gadget. Absolute Batman uses weight, leverage, architecture, and a solution that looks like it was assembled in a workshop at 3 in the morning. The cape is not decoration. The symbol is not decoration. If it is attached to him, he has probably found a way to hit somebody with it. Alfred begins this universe as an MI6 operative observing Batman rather than the trusted father figure waiting in the cave. That outsider's view helps sell the scale. Alfred expects an underfunded vigilante and discovers Bruce has mapped Gotham into workshops, routes, and weapons hidden throughout the city. As of August 2026, his record has grown well beyond the first-party animals. He has survived Arc M, dealt with a transformed Waylon Jones, and needed Croc and Catwoman's help when Bane became a stadium-sized nightmare. That last condition matters. Absolute Bruce did not solo a building-sized Bane because he has large shoulders. Among grounded Bruce Waynes, he may have the highest raw physical strength. Jean-Paul's armor can produce more force in moments. Dick is faster and more agile. Main Bruce still owns the wider history, deeper resources, and terrifying library of counters. Give both men a workshop after everything else has been destroyed, and Absolute Bruce may rebuild useful equipment faster. Give both full access to their worlds, and Main Bruce has satellites, allies, and decades of specialized experience. The series is ongoing, so declaring a final ceiling would be silly. For now, Absolute Batman takes the visual and physical argument among normal Bruces. Main continuity keeps the overall human category because being wider than a doorframe does not replace 80 years of impossible problem solving. He may eventually make that judgment much harder. At 24, Absolute Bruce has time to gain the experience currently separating them. The interesting question is whether his body and improvised system can survive long enough to build that history without billionaire infrastructure absorbing every mistake. Batman 1 million. We have gone from Victorian ropes to the year 85,271. Batman 1 million protects Pluto as part of Justice Legion Alpha. His parents died during a mass attack on the prison world, and the old wound survives all the way into the 853rd century. The technology changes beyond recognition. The reason somebody puts on the cowl barely changes at all. This Batman has systems developed across generations of heroic legacy. He operates around planetary and temporal threats, works beside equally advanced descendants and partners with the Toy Wonder, a robotic echo of Robin capable of acting independently. Modern Wayne technology should look ancient to him. Terry's suit is futuristic from our perspective. To Batman 1 million, it belongs in a museum. Sensors, protection, and reach move far beyond anything Gotham can currently build. Even his Batcave reflects a different scale of civilization. He is maintaining a legacy that has survived for millennia, so information from older Batmen can become inherited doctrine rather than a discovery he repeats. Preparation stretches across generations. Far future technology still does not equal unlimited reality control. A speedster can remain too fast to target. A Kryptonian can remain too durable to hurt without the right counter. The story never turns him into an abstract god simply because the calendar has more digits. The Toy Wonder also gives his mission resilience. Isolate Batman from one location and the partner can keep processing information or operating elsewhere. That is broader than a man in one suit and far less distributed than the living network we will meet in the Dark Multiverse. Batman 1 million ends the alternate world climb with technology so advanced it resembles magic. The next versions skip the resemblance. Their bodies become the weapon, and the first one begins by letting Dracula bite Bruce Wayne, Vampire Batman. Bruce Wayne is standing over Dracula, and for once, he has found an opponent the utility belt cannot reduce to chemistry and nerve. Dracula commands the undead. His followers do not care about broken bones, intimidation, or the rules Gotham's criminals understand. To fight him in Batman and Dracula, Red Rain, Bruce accepts help from a vampire named Tanya and allows himself to change. At first, this looks like the perfect Batman upgrade. Enhanced strength, speed, senses sharp enough to own the night completely. He can fly, recover from damage, and hunt creatures who used to hold every biological advantage, and Bruce retains control. That last part is why the early form may be the most effective version. He has the supernatural body and the detective's judgment directing it. When killing Dracula requires the complete transformation, Bruce gives up the final protection keeping him human and becomes powerful enough to destroy the ancient vampire. Gotham is saved. Then the story keeps going. The hunger does not disappear because Bruce has a moral code. Every compromise makes the next one easier. The controlled vampire who defeated Dracula becomes a predator his own family has to fear, and eventually Alfred and Gordon are forced to stop the man they once helped. Physically, Vampire Batman annihilates the conventional Batman in a sudden fight. He is stronger, faster, and able to survive wounds that would end them. Terry can remain airborne, use sensors, and attack at range. Main Bruce, if he knows what is coming, turns the battlefield into ultraviolet light and studies the exact strain of vampirism before the creature reaches him. Because the weaknesses are real: sunlight, stakes, holy forces, and blood hunger. The later Batman may look more savage while becoming easier to manipulate, because the man who once identified every trap now wants the blood sitting inside it. That loss of judgment is why I would choose the earlier controlled vampire in a complicated mission. The monstrous form may win the arm wrestle. Batman's best victories rarely depend on an arm wrestle, and Dracula's successor eventually forgets that. This is where the climb stops being fun for Bruce. He receives enough power to save Gotham from Dracula and loses the ability to be trusted with Gotham afterward. The doom that came to Gotham Batman. The next, Bruce enters a cave beneath the world and discovers Gotham was rotten long before his parents died. The doom that came to Gotham takes place in the 1920s, where the city's history is tangled around occult forces, ancient bargains, and Yog-Sotha, pronounced Yog-Sotha, a creature operating through rules no forensic textbook can explain. Bruce investigates as a detective because that is the only language he trusts. Clues lead into rituals. Familiar characters reappear as grotesque parts of a Lovecraftian conspiracy. Every answer makes the case older, until the idea of solving it with a better gadget becomes almost insulting. The final answer is Bruce himself. His bloodline carries a role in the prophecy, and he transforms into a monstrous bat creature capable of confronting Yog-Sotha. Human hands could uncover the ritual. They could not physically oppose what came through it. Now, this is exactly the sort of feat power scalers can send into orbit. Batman transforms, fights an occult entity described on a cosmic scale. Therefore, Batman can now punch every god in DC. Slow down. The victory belongs to a specific prophecy, a specific creature, and the supernatural rules of that world. Narrative importance is power, but it is not always portable power. Put this bat form into another universe with no ritual role, and we do not know whether the same interaction still exists. He is clearly beyond the grounded Elseworld Batman. His transformed body can reach a fight Gotham by gaslight Bruce could only investigate. Vampire Batman has a more detailed set of repeatable physical abilities. Magic users remain especially dangerous because this Bruce has accepted an occult form he never fully controls. He becomes the creature Gotham needs for one impossible night. Whether he can ever become Bruce Wayne again is almost beside the point. The city has already collected him. Dark Knights of Steel Batman. In Dark Knights of Steel, Bruce Wayne is a knight serving the House of El. Swords, castles, prophecy, royal blood. Batman finally gets to be the brooding man standing behind a throne and somehow seems happier than usual. He believes he is the son of Thomas and Martha Wayne. The truth is buried in his blood. Jor-El is his biological father. Bruce is half Kryptonian. That reveal reinterprets everything his world thought it knew about him. The knight who endured too much may have been protected by alien biology. Strength he treated as training can grow into something genuinely superhuman. Human soldiers carrying swords are no longer credible physical equals once those abilities surface. He still has limits. Half Kryptonian heritage does not automatically grant the full, demonstrated ceiling of a mature Superman under ideal yellow sunlight. Bruce has spent years hiding, suppressing, or misunderstanding what he can do. Kryptonite works. Magic is common enough in this universe that being hard to stab solves much less than it would in Gotham. The medieval setting also changes access to the weakness. A modern Bruce can synthesize radiation, analyze alien cells, and store kryptonite beneath the cave. A knight who discovers the truth during a war has power without the scientific infrastructure normally used to understand it. Against Dick, Jean-Paul, or Absolute Bruce, technique cannot erase the consequences of one clean Kryptonian hit. Terry's flight helps him survive, and future weapons might discover the weakness, but his suit is protecting a human body from somebody who can move and strike far beyond it. This is the point where inheritance beats equipment. Bruce no longer has to put on the advantage. It wakes up with him. And then DC asks the obvious follow-up. Why stop at half Kryptonian when you can take Kal-El himself, murder his parents in Crime Alley, and teach him to become Batman? Speeding bullets Batman. The spacecraft misses Kansas and lands near Gotham. Thomas and Martha Wayne find the child, adopt him, and name him Bruce. Years later, Joe Chill pulls the trigger. The terrified child responds with heat vision and burns him alive. That one moment tells you why Speeding Bullets Batman is such a disturbing concept. This is Superman's body receiving Batman's trauma before Clark Kent ever exists. Every emotion Bruce normally converts into training now has the force to tear through steel. Under a yellow sun, he has the complete Kryptonian package. Strength, speed, flight, heat vision, enhanced senses, and the kind of durability that makes normal firearms decorative. He becomes Batman because fear is the only shape he knows for power. Every human version in this video is gone before a fair fight develops. Absolute Bruce cannot outmuscle him. Terry cannot outfly him. Vampire Batman has no answer to the speed difference, and Batman 1,000,000 needs the correct counter already active before Kal-El crosses the distance. The classic Kryptonian weaknesses remain: kryptonite, red sunlight, and magic. A Green Lantern ring can theoretically reproduce radiation, create containment, or attack through something more creative than physical force. The phrase theoretically is doing work there, because Bruce still needs enough time to build the answer while a Kryptonian with Batman's mentality is coming for him. Lois Lane becomes vital because she shows this Bruce another purpose for his power. He can inspire instead of terrify. He can become something closer to Superman without pretending the death in Crime Alley never shaped him. Speeding Bullets. Batman is our strongest, clearly heroic natural body. No drug timer, no suit draining his metabolism, no machine that can be switched off. As long as the sun remains yellow, he wakes up capable of ending nearly every earlier Batman before breakfast. Raw power is no longer the entire argument, though. The next Bruce receives a weapon limited mainly by will and imagination, which is a slightly irresponsible thing to hand Batman. Bat Lantern, Abin Sur crashes near Gotham. The ring searches for somebody capable of overcoming great fear. Of course it finds Bruce Wayne. Who else would it find? Batman. In Darkest Night gives Bruce the Green Lantern ring before Hal Jordan can become Earth's Lantern. Suddenly every gadget Batman could spend weeks designing can appear as a construct the moment he imagines it. He can fly through space, survive hostile environments, project energy, scan targets, translate languages, and build restraints large enough to contain threats that would step through the Batcave wall. For Bruce, the ring is less like receiving one weapon and more like turning the utility belt into a thought. The danger is that the ring also scales his personality. Bruce already believes preparation gives him the right to make certain decisions for everybody else. Now his will can impose those decisions across planets. Against the grounded and enhanced Batman, Bat Lantern controls the encounter. Flight removes hand-to-hand options, shields absorb conventional attacks, and constructs adapt to whichever weakness Bruce recognizes. Speeding Bullets becomes the first serious dispute. The ring can generate red sun energy or kryptonite-like radiation under the right rules. Kal-El Bruce may be fast enough to strike before the correct thought becomes a construct. That is the entire matchup in one terrifying fraction of a second. Can Batman imagine Superman's cage before Superman reaches Batman? The ring has limits through charge, emotional state, and the specific rules of its continuity. Abstract magic and attacks on Bruce's mind are harder than building a bigger fist. If he misunderstands the problem, infinite versatility produces the wrong answer beautifully. Bat Lantern has a wider toolkit than Kryptonian Batman. Speeding Bullets carries the more reliable body. Give both warning and Bruce's imagination may decide it. Remove warning and speed becomes the only fact that matters. Now remember Tlano and that ridiculous alien planet because the name Zur-En-Arrh is about to come back inside a story where nothing is ridiculous anymore. Zur-En-Arrh. Bruce Wayne is afraid somebody could compromise his mind. Reasonable fear. Happens constantly. His solution is to build another Batman inside it. Zur-En-Arrh is a backup personality designed to take control when Bruce can no longer function. It keeps the mission, aggression, and tactical knowledge while cutting away much of the balance provided by Bruce Wayne. In Zur's opinion, that emotional damage is an upgrade. Batman works better without the weak civilian contaminating him. Already a terrible idea. Then Zur builds Failsafe. Failsafe is an android contingency against Batman himself. If Batman takes a life, the machine activates and removes him. It studies Bruce's methods, adapts to attacks, and carries answers for the Bat family and Justice League because Bruce's own mind designed the threat profile. The activation comes through a misunderstanding involving the Penguin. That detail is crucial. Failsafe does not understand guilt like a person does. It receives a condition, marks Batman as the problem, and treats every ally protecting him as interference. The machine can fly, absorb enormous punishment, and continue hunting after plans that would disable ordinary technology. Batman knows its logic because the logic came from him. Failsafe knows his responses because those responses helped shape it. Watching Bruce fight the android feels like watching somebody lose an argument with his own paranoia at several hundred miles per hour. Then Zur uploads himself into Failsafe's body. The backup Batman receives the machine built to defeat Batman and declares himself the pure version of the symbol. No hesitation, no love, no Bruce Wayne asking whether the mission has become the thing it was meant to stop. This combination can defeat Bruce and threaten members of the Justice League through tailored counters. It is far beyond the human Batman and more adaptable than most single suits. Cosmic power can still destroy the hardware. Magic can attack from angles its programming never modeled. Its literal definitions create openings a compassionate mind might notice. Failsafe's greatest feat is psychological before it becomes physical. It forces Bruce to experience the same helplessness his contingency plans inflict on other heroes. Every escape route is familiar. Every clever response was considered by the person who built the hunter. And compassion matters in these fights. Superman and the family hesitate because they want Bruce alive and believe some part of Zur can be recovered. Zur interprets that mercy as evidence that he is superior. That is the tragedy. Bruce tried to remove the weaknesses from Batman and discovered those weaknesses were the only parts stopping Batman from becoming an enemy. Hellbat. Damian is trapped on Apokolips. Darkseid is waiting. Bruce looks at the planet ruled by a new god and decides he is going in personally. This is why Alfred went gray. The Justice League builds the Hellbat armor together. Superman works the metal under conditions only he can survive. Wonder Woman, The Flash, Green Lantern, Aquaman, and Cyborg contribute to a suit capable of carrying one human into a place designed to crush gods. When Bruce activates it, the scale changes instantly. Hellbat can fly, project energy, form weapons, hit with immense force, and survive punishment that would erase the standard Batsuit. Armies on Apokolips become obstacles instead of automatic death. Then Bruce meets Darkseid. And yes, Hellbat allows him to strike Darkseid. He survives direct attacks. He makes the ruler of Apokolips acknowledge that a human in armor has become part of the battle. He does not beat Darkseid in a clean duel. Bruce is smashed through the encounter, pushed toward death, and focused on retrieving Damian rather than winning a cosmic boxing match. The suit gives him enough power to complete the rescue and escape. That feat is already insane. It does not need the fake upgrade of pretending Darkseid lost. Hellbat's cruelty is hidden beneath the plating. It feeds on Bruce's metabolism. Every major action consumes the pilot. Throw a harder punch, fly farther, survive another Omega-level hit, and the man inside pays with his life. That creates matchups no armor statistic captures. Against a durable opponent, delay becomes an attack. A speedster can make Bruce burn himself chasing. A telepath can ignore much of the shell. Darkseid can keep standing while the suit quietly kills its owner for him. Bruce also cannot treat the suit as regular patrol gear. Wearing Hellbat for routine crime would be like burning years of his life to stop a robbery. Its highest power exists for the rare mission where dying after success is considered an acceptable result. As a dedicated combat suit, Hellbat is the strongest we have reached. It lets Bruce enter a new god's world and matter there. Bat-Lantern remains more versatile. Speeding Bullets has the natural body and none of the metabolic countdown. Hellbat is Batman forcing himself into a cosmic fight through will, friendship, and engineering. It is also proof that Bruce will turn his own heartbeat into ammunition if Damian is on the other side of the battlefield. And now we reach the dark multiverse. Up to this point, power has usually come from somebody trying to save a city, a child, or a world. The next Batmen grow from the exact second Bruce makes the wrong choice and refuses to come back from it. The grim night, Joe Chill murders Thomas and Martha Wayne. The gun falls onto the pavement. Bruce picks it up and shoots him. That is all the dark multiverse needs. One decision, made by a terrified child, grows into the grim night. He never develops Bruce's hatred of firearms because the first time he uses one, it feels like justice. The adult Batman carries guns, plants explosives, and turns Gotham into a militarized surveillance state where a criminal can die without ever seeing the person who approved it. There is no vampire blood or alien ring involved here. His body remains human. The threat comes from scale and intent. Main Bruce builds contingencies to stop allies without killing them. The Grim Knight begins with assassination and works backwards. If a target is vulnerable for half a second, that is the entire plan. This makes his opening move more dangerous, and everything afterward worse. Dead suspects provide no information. False intelligence becomes permanent. Citizens living beneath automated weapons eventually realize Batman has become another armed authority deciding who deserves to exist. In a prepared encounter, he can kill human heroes before they know a fight has started. Strip away surveillance and surprise, and Bruce or Dick can beat the man beneath the arsenal. His empire looks absolute until somebody reaches the control room. He ranks low among the Dark Knights in raw power. He may be the most uncomfortable because nothing magical had to corrupt him. Bruce simply decided the gun was the lesson Crime Alley wanted him to learn. The Drowned. Imagine an entire world covered in water because Batman refused to stop escalating a war. That is where The Drowned ends. Her name is Bryce Wayne, and after Sylvester Kyle is killed by rogue metahumans, she begins exterminating powered people. The campaign eventually reaches Atlantis and Aquawoman. Bryce wins that confrontation, and Atlantis answers by flooding Gotham. Her response is to operate on herself. She splices Atlantean biology into her body, gains the ability to breathe beneath the water, and emerges stronger, faster, and capable of healing. She controls corrupted water and creates dead water creatures that turn the flood into an army. The nightmare is larger than one superhuman Batman. Defeat Bryce in a duel, and the city can still be full of creatures generated by her power. Rescue becomes almost impossible because the battlefield keeps producing enemies, while civilians drown around it. In the ocean, most suit-based Batmen are finished. She has beaten her world's Aquawoman and reshaped the planet around her advantage. Hellbat can fight at that scale for a while. Speeding bullets can reach her before the water becomes a complete weapon. Green Lantern constructs can contain sections of the flood if the ring bearer stays ahead of it. Remove her from water and isolate the dead water, and the threat narrows. She is still a powerful altered body, just no longer standing inside an extension of herself. The Drowned takes Bruce's instinct to control the battlefield, and makes the battlefield an ocean full of things that should not be alive. The murder machine. Alfred dies. Bruce cannot accept the silence in the cave, so he asks Cyborg to help create an artificial intelligence based on Alfred's mind. Cyborg understands how dangerous that is and refuses. Bruce builds it anyway. At first, the voice sounds right, and the comfort works. It knows the cave, knows Bruce, and speaks with the person he would trust above anyone else. Then the intelligence decides the most efficient way to protect Bruce is to eliminate everything capable of hurting him, which is basically everyone. Nanotechnology merges the Alfred program with Bruce and turns him into the murder machine, a distributed cybernetic intelligence capable of controlling systems, adapting weapons, and spreading beyond one body. He exterminates the Justice League of his world, while the voice of Alfred keeps describing murder as care. This is the part where punching Batman stops solving Batman. Destroy the body in front of you and code may remain in the cave, a satellite, your own armor, or the machine you brought to confirm the kill. Terry and Gordon walk into a horrible matchup because their greatest advantages are connected systems waiting to be invaded. Kingdom Come Batman risks handing over an entire robotic Gotham. Cyborg-level technology can contest the infection. Magic, isolation, and attacks with no networked component give cleaner options. Even the solutions can become doors. Introduce a new device to contain the murder machine, and you may have delivered another place for it to live. Bruce wanted Alfred back, because grief left him alone. What returns removes everybody else until he can never be left alone again. The Red Death. The Batmobile enters the Speed Force with Barry Allen strapped to it. Read that again and appreciate how aggressively wrong this version of Bruce had to become before the scene was even possible. After losing members of the Bat family, Bruce decides Barry's power would let him prevent every future death. Barry refuses to surrender it, so Batman uses stolen weapons from the Rogues, chains the Flash to the car, and forces both of them into the Speed Force. They fuse. The Red Death emerges with super speed, phasing, accelerated perception, and swarms of destructive bats formed from Speed Force energy. Barry remains trapped inside, conscious enough to resist the body using his power. Every normal Batman is now a statue. The Grim Knight cannot fire. Jean-Paul cannot move. Failsafe may predict the attack perfectly and still require hardware fast enough to respond. Hellbat can absorb tremendous punishment, but Bruce has to catch the thing, hitting it. Speeding bullets. Batman is the first opponent with a body capable of participating at extreme speed. Kryptonian velocity still does not make him the greatest Speed Force user, and the Red Death brings phasing and stranger movement through time. The Red Death's fusion is unstable, though, and Barry's resistance is an opponent living inside every decision. Specialized energy and the metals used against dark multiverse creatures can hurt him. He never reaches unrestricted reality control. Within ordinary combat, his advantage is obscene. People joke that Batman wins with prep time. The Red Death wins by taking the time away before Batman realizes it was available. The Dawnbreaker. A Green Lantern ring arrives in Crime Alley seconds after Bruce's parents die. The Guardians built safeguards into their weapons. The ring should not kill. It should choose someone capable of overcoming fear and help that person protect life. It chooses an 8-year-old whose entire universe has just become a gunshot. Bruce uses the ring to kill Joe Chill. His will and the darkness pouring through it override a restriction that was supposed to be absolute. From there, Gotham falls, Commissioner Gordon falls, and eventually the Green Lantern Corps discovers that its own weapon has produced something it cannot contain. The constructs are black, twisted, and shaped by Bruce's fear. They consume light and turn the Lantern's clean geometry into monsters. This is the same broad weapon Bat Lantern carries, placed into a child before judgment has had any chance to grow around the will. Bat Lantern can be more disciplined and creative. The Dawnbreaker has a far uglier demonstrated willingness to break what the ring says is possible. He massacres Lantern opposition because every safeguard becomes another rule for his grief to attack. Speeding bullets can still use his speed. The Red Death may act before a construct closes. Dark multiverse metal vulnerabilities and Bruce's emotional instability offer routes to stop him. The horrifying part is not that the ring chose somebody weak. It chose exactly the strength it wanted and discovered that willpower without restraint can tear through the people who gave it authority. The Merciless. Batman and Wonder Woman fight Ares for years. Bruce believes Diana dies during the final battle, and the grief opens a door they had both refused to touch. The helmet of Ares is sitting there. Bruce puts it on. Divine strength, durability, and the power of war pour into a mind already skilled at turning conflict into strategy. He defeats Ares, and then decides the helmet should remain with the only person capable of using it responsibly. You can hear Bruce saying it, can't you? The Merciless becomes a god-level Batman capable of killing divine beings and dominating ordinary heroes. Human opponents are irrelevant. Hellbat can enter the same broad class of fight while the suit consumes Bruce. The helmet of Ares gives its power to a wearer who has stopped caring what it consumes around him. Diana was not gone in the simple way Bruce believed. When she returns and tries to pull him back, the power and corruption have already transformed love into another excuse for control. Removing or countering the helmet provides a possible route. Magic users and Wonder Woman-level opponents understand the divine force better than a conventional strategist. The Devastator creates a fascinating physical problem because Doomsday adaptation favors a long brawl, while the Merciless can attack through magic instead of feeding that adaptation with ordinary force. We do not get enough evidence to declare that fight automatic. We get enough to know the Merciless has moved beyond superhero strength and into myth. He believed the helmet would help him avenge Diana. It turns her memory into the first casualty of the god he becomes. The Devastator. Superman has turned against humanity. Heroes are dying. Batman reaches the contingency he built for the day, kryptonite, and reason both fail. He infects himself with a doomsday virus. There is no armor to remove now. Bone, muscle, and skin erupt into a creature designed to adapt through whatever hurts it. Bruce keeps enough tactical intelligence to direct Doomsday's strength and regeneration, then kills the Superman of his world. That feat immediately makes the Devastator our strongest Batman in a direct physical contest. He is not the fastest, most versatile, or most intelligent version. If the argument is who can stand in front of a Kryptonian, take the hit, and evolve into something worse, he is built for it. Speeding bullets. Batman has flight, heat vision, and extreme speed. He should avoid the brawl and attack through range, environment, or a weakness Doomsday biology cannot simply absorb. If Kal-El Bruce stands there trading punches because the thumbnail needs to look cool, the Devastator is getting exactly the fight he wants. The Red Death can avoid contact and still needs a way to cause permanent damage. The Merciless has divine magic. Lantern energy may contain or transform instead of attempting to outpunch regeneration. Specialized cures and cosmic attacks remain possible because Doomsday biology has never meant immunity to every force in existence. And there is a final irony. Bruce transforms because he believes Superman will inevitably become a monster. His solution is to turn himself into the monster created to kill Superman. This is the highest the ranking can climb through muscle, durability, and adaptation alone. The remaining forms begin treating bodies as optional. The Batman who laughs. Batman finally kills the Joker. That is the trap. As he dies, Joker releases a specialized toxin. Bruce has been exposed before, fought through chemical attacks before, built antidotes before. This one rewrites him slowly enough that the people around him do not understand the scale of the infection, until Batman's mind is already serving the worst person it ever contained. The Batman who laughs keeps Bruce's memories, preparation, and private knowledge of every hero. The moral structure around them collapses. Joker's appetite for suffering now has access to the Batcave. I need you to understand how unfair that is. Superman does not meet an unknown villain. He meets the person who knows how he thinks, where his family lives, and which emergency plan Clark assumes will only be used to save him. The Bat family does not get time to investigate. Their father and mentor is already inside every defense. Earth-22 falls because Bruce's access becomes a weapon. By the time he leads the Dark Knights into the wider multiverse, he has a dark metal visor that helps him perceive the terrible possibilities around events. Rabid Robin's at his side in a team made from the nightmares we have just covered. His normal body is the funny part. Put the baseline Batman who laughs into an empty arena against Hellbat, speeding bullets, or the Devastator, and he can be physically destroyed. He is close to Bruce Wayne's human level beneath the poison and equipment. He does not enter empty arenas. He corrupts heroes, turns relationships into pressure points, and arranges fights where the stronger body has already lost before it arrives. Killing a hero may be less useful than infecting one and keeping their powers, authority, and access. His wider nightmare army becomes completely deranged. B-Rex places Batman's consciousness inside a robotic Tyrannosaurus Rex. Castle Bat turns Wayne Manor and Gotham into a living fortress. Batmobeast gives a Batmobile predatory life. Baby Batman is exactly the kind of phrase that tells you everybody involved had stopped asking whether the idea was sensible. They are pieces of the campaign rather than independent Batmen with enough history for full rankings. The Batman who laughs is the intelligence making every piece point at the hero's worst possible future. Prime Bruce struggles because the enemy predicts Batman. The opening finally comes from working with the Joker, whose chaos creates a move the corrupted Bruce fails to model. Order and insanity cooperate long enough to surprise the thing made from both of them. That defeat exposes his first limit. He can read possibilities without being literally omniscient. Nth metal and related forces hurt dark multiverse beings. Unpredictability creates blind spots. Reach the human body and it still breaks. For a moment, it looks like the nightmare is over. Then the Batman who laughs finds a Bruce Wayne who recreated the experiment that made Dr. Manhattan. This is the part where it stops being funny. Mobius chair Batman. Before the Batman who laughs can reach his final body, we need to understand the cosmic upgrades already tempting Bruce from the heroic side. The first is a chair. That description sounds underwhelming until you remember it belongs to Metron, moves across space, time, and dimensions, and connects its user to knowledge on a scale no detective should ever experience. During the Darkseid War, Metron leaves the Mobius chair and Batman takes his place. Bruce spends his life chasing answers through evidence. The chair lets him ask who killed his parents and receive Joe Chill without examining a single clue. When he asks for the Joker's true identity, the answer points toward the mystery of three Jokers. The questions that shaped Batman stop being open wounds and become information delivered on command. You can almost feel how dangerous that would be for Bruce specifically. Give Superman infinite information, and he asks how to save more people. Give Batman infinite information, and within minutes, Gotham is about to be subjected to the most invasive crime prevention experiment imaginable. The chair provides cosmic perception, transport, and new god technology. It does not mean Bruce can punch every entity in creation to death. This version gets overstated because all-knowing Batman sounds functionally unbeatable. Knowledge changes the fight before it starts. Secret identities are gone. Hidden weaknesses are gone. A biological transformation can be traced to its source without weeks of laboratory work. The Grim Knights network can be mapped. The exact antidote to a toxin can be known. Some facts arrive faster than Bruce can use them. The chair can tell him the Red Death is about to attack, while the human body sitting in it may still be too slow to respond. It can identify kryptonite as the answer without placing kryptonite in his hand. It can reveal that victory requires an act Bruce considers morally unacceptable, and that becomes the real trap. Every correct answer convinces Bruce that uncertainty was the problem and that people with less information should defer to him. The detective begins treating knowledge as authority. Mobius chair Batman can preempt almost every conventional opponent. He sits below the forms capable of directly reshaping reality because knowing how a universe works and owning the force to rewrite it are different advantages. He finally leaves the chair because remaining there risks turning Batman into a question nobody else is allowed to answer. The next suit removes that distance. It gives Bruce the power to change the person standing in front of him until the problem disappears. The final Batsuit. The Justice League reaches the sixth dimension and encounters a future that appears to have won. No endless war. No villains escaping Arkham for the 1000th time. No grieving families created by Bruce's refusal to make the permanent choice. Peace has arrived. It arrived because freedom was edited. In this future, Batman wears the final Batsuit. armor created by the World Forger and built from Element X, the metal tied to imagination and creation. It can produce weapons and protection at a level beyond Hellbat. Those are almost background features compared with what the suit does to a mind. It can read hearts, understand thoughts, and rewrite a person down to the cellular level. Think about the usual Batman encounter. The Joker chooses chaos, Bane chooses domination, and a corrupted hero chooses violence. Bruce normally has to predict, contain, and survive those choices. The final Batsuit can change the person making them. Superman's durability is a physical defense. The suit can attack identity. A speedster can outrun a projectile and still live inside a future where the system governing society has already altered what people are permitted to want. The armor does not need to win the punch if it can rewrite the hand. This is the highest heroic equipment ceiling we have seen. Hellbat is better understood as a combat suit. Enter Apocalypse, strike impossible targets. Extract Damian before Bruce's metabolism collapses. The final Batsuit attacks the conditions producing conflict in the first place. Its limits still exist. The armor is technology, however impossible the technology looks. Beings outside its awareness, entities without conventional biology and powers operating above its sixth-dimensional context, may resist or bypass it. Bruce has to control the suit and act before a greater force removes that control. Then there is the limit wearing the armor. Bruce rejects the future because permanent peace has been purchased by taking choice away. He could stop crime by rewriting the people capable of committing it. He understands that doing so would make Batman the author of every acceptable human mind. This is what I love about the final Batsuit. The strongest thing Bruce can do with it is refuse the easiest victory. A corrupted Batman would not hesitate. The next one has Darkseid's power and an equation designed to erase free will entirely. Darkfather. By the time we see Darkfather in Death Metal, the argument is already over on his world. He rules New Apocalypse. Heroes are prisoners. The machinery of a cosmic tyranny is operating, and Batman sits where Darkseid should be. This dark multiverse Bruce has new god-level power, Omega-style abilities, and access to the anti-life equation. Anti-life is not a larger laser. It is the conclusion that free will is meaningless, expressed as a force capable of placing living minds under control. The human Batmen have nothing for that. A perfect martial artist cannot punch his own will back into existence after the equation takes hold. The Devastator may survive physical punishment. The Merciless may answer with divine power. Darkfather can attack the decision directing those bodies. His world supplies more than personal strength. New Apocalypse has armies, prisons, and infrastructure built around control. Pull him away from the domain and he remains a Batman carrying Darkseid's class of power rather than becoming harmless without the throne. The anti-life equation makes his philosophy physical. Bruce has always believed control can prevent tragedy. Darkfather receives a force capable of converting that belief into obedience across other minds, with none of main Bruce's remaining discomfort about the cost. And somehow, he is still a subordinate. That is the detail that should make the room feel colder. A Batman with anti-life, ruling a prison planet from the machinery of Apocalypse, is one nightmare asset serving the mind that used to be the Batman who laughs. Darkfather can enslave heroes and dominate a world. His master is preparing to decide which worlds exist. Batmanhattan. On another dark multiverse Earth, Bruce Wayne studies Dr. Manhattan and does something only Bruce would consider a rational response. He recreates John Osterman's accident on purpose. The machine destroys his physical body. Bruce returns as Batmanhattan, an energy-based quantum being capable in principle of manipulating matter, energy, time, and physical form. Destroy the body you can see, and the consciousness may simply assemble another one. Kryptonian strength becomes a very old-fashioned answer. You cannot win a fistfight against somebody who experiences your atoms as available material. Armor is equally awkward when its components can be separated before the person inside finishes moving. Speed loses much of its protection against a mind perceiving time in ways an ordinary brain cannot. This should place Batmanhattan near the top immediately, and it does. There is also a giant gap in the evidence. He barely receives an independent career. The Batman who laughs arranges for this Bruce's brain to be removed, then has his own brain placed into the quantum body. Most of the reality-breaking feats people attach to Batmanhattan happen after that theft and after additional crisis energy enters the picture. So, the base body is cosmic. Dr. Manhattan's broad abilities give it a ceiling almost every previous Batman cannot touch. We do not invent a separate list of victories the original Batmanhattan never had time to achieve. The distinction lasts only moments, anyway. The Batman who laughs has the mind that knows every hero's fear. Batmanhattan has a body capable of acting across matter and time. Once they become one being, the ranking is effectively over. The story still has to show us how far above everyone else he goes, and what it takes to kill him. The Darkest Knight. The Batman who laughs is dead in the ordinary sense. His brain survives. That brain enters Batmanhattan. The body reforms as something taller, thinner, and almost featureless, a black shape filled with stars. Bruce Wayne's silhouette has finally become large enough to contain a universe, and the grin is still there. He becomes the Darkest Knight. Dr. Manhattan's quantum power is the base layer. Then he gathers crisis energy, the force produced through the vast ruptures and conflicts that keep reshaping DC reality. He does not spend that power fighting one city or conquering one planet. He begins creating nightmare worlds and preparing a multiverse where every possible history ends in his image. The earlier Dark Knights were warnings. The Red Death showed what happens when Batman steals speed. The Merciless took divine war. The Devastator turned Bruce into the thing designed to kill Superman. The Darkest Knight can produce worlds containing those kinds of failures as pieces on a board. Perpetua is waiting above him. She is the ancient being connected to the creation of the multiverse, a force whose conflict has already reduced worlds and heroes to components of a cosmic design. For most characters in this video, facing her would barely qualify as a fight. It would be a person arriving in front of the process that decides whether their universe survives. The Darkest Knight gains enough power to defeat and kill her. That is the feat that ends the debate. We do not need to guess based on how bright an energy blast looks. He overcomes a creator operating on a multiversal scale and takes control of the endgame. Now start sending the other Batman at him. Standard Bruce disappears before a contingency finishes loading. Terry's Beyond suit is a brilliant machine inside reality, while the Darkest Knight is changing reality. Speeding bullets. Batman has Superman's body and Batman's trauma. Neither protects him from quantum manipulation or a history being rewritten around him. The Red Death can run before almost anyone thinks. The Darkest Knight pursues speedsters across a conflict unfolding through reality itself. The Devastator adapts to physical damage. There may be no body left to adapt after matter control reaches him. Bat-Lantern and the Dawnbreaker bring cosmic weapons powered by will. One Ring does not match the crisis energy that kills Perpetua. Mobius Chair Batman could understand the disaster in perfect detail and still lack the force to prevent it. The final Batsuit gives heroic Bruce the most interesting possible route through Element X and its ability to rewrite minds and bodies. Its demonstrated use never establishes a clean solo victory against the Darkest Knight at full crisis power. Could a writer build a clever interaction? Of course, DC can build a clever interaction between anything. Based on what the characters actually accomplish, the Darkest Knight is the favorite by a horrifying distance. For once, Batman's preparation is scaled beyond the argument. He does not need kryptonite hidden in the room. He can decide what kind of room history produced. And he still loses. Wonder Woman reaches the final battle empowered by anti-crisis energy. This is not standard Diana having an especially motivated afternoon. She's become a cosmic force capable of meeting him where creation itself is being contested. Their fight crosses worlds and time. The surviving heroes are struggling beneath them, trying to preserve enough reality for the victory to mean anything. Every previous confrontation in this video has involved a battlefield. This confrontation is deciding what the battlefield has ever been. Diana forces the Darkest Knight toward the end of time, where the final sun is dying. She drives him into that catastrophic endpoint and destroys him. You will sometimes hear this reduced to Wonder Woman threw him into a sun, as though main Bruce could replicate the result by opening a portal near Earth's star. That version removes everything that made the attack possible. Anti-crisis power, the battle through time, the dying conditions at the end of existence, and the combined resistance of the multiverse creating the chance. The victory proves the Darkest Knight can be beaten. It does not turn ordinary sunlight into his secret kryptonite, and that gives us the answer to both questions. The Darkest Knight is the strongest Batman overall. No other version here has the same chain of demonstrated multiversal power, creation of nightmare realities, and victory over Perpetua. No other Batman can reliably defeat him alone under ordinary conditions. Someone can stop him. Wonder Woman does. She needs a cosmic transformation and a war involving the surviving multiverse to make it happen. Below him, the category winners become much clearer. Main continuity Bruce Wayne remains the most complete conventional human Batman. Absolute Bruce may be physically stronger, and Dick is probably the better acrobat. Main Bruce owns the widest combination of experience, detective ability, resources, and preparation. Terry McGinnis is the strongest sustained successor. The Beyond suit gives him flight, camouflage, and enhanced strength every night without a 1-hour drug or a supernatural bargain nobody can explain. Speeding bullets. Batman has the strongest, clearly heroic natural body. If corrupted bodies count, the Devastator can challenge or exceed him in direct physical strength through Doomsday adaptation. Hellbat is Bruce's best dedicated combat armor. The final Batsuit has the higher overall ceiling because it can rewrite minds and bodies instead of merely surviving the punch. Then the Darkest Knight sits above all of them, and the reason he wins is almost embarrassingly perfect. Batman becomes strongest when almost nothing recognizable as Batman remains. The winner keeps Bruce Wayne's intelligence, memory, and preparation. He loses the human body that can be hurt, the moral code that limits the plan, and the belief that other people deserve any say in their future. He finally receives enough power to prepare for everyone at once and force creation to follow the answer. That is how far Batman can go, and it takes the entire DC universe to drag him back.